Welcome back to another video, ladies and gentlemen. Before I explain how Teamfight Tactics works, we must understand what Teamfight Tactics is. TFT, also known as Teamfight Tactics, is League of Legends' take on the new auto battler genre, which is a new genre that was introduced by Auto Chess. Now that the small history is out of the way, here's the million-dollar question. How does Teamfight Tactics work? In very short, without important details, you place champions on the board and watch them fight other enemy champions for a victory. Since there's a lot to explain about the game, I'm first gonna start with this little buddy right here. This little dude is called a Little Legend, and he is not a unit that fights on the board. Little Legends are a fancy way of displaying your health bar while looking fucking adorable. And you can also move your Little Legend around the board with your right click. With 6 different Little Legends, including chromas on release, you and your Little Legend can dominate the board in style. I have to stop saying little before I attract SoundCloud rappers. Anyways, let's move on to the harder part to understand. That part would be the units, but it also ties in with the gold. Therefore, I will give you a quick rundown on how gold works in this game. At the end of each round, you will receive gold. The amount of gold you receive may vary depending on these 2 reasons. You are either on a win streak or you have 1 or more interest. But Shogun, what is interest? Each 10 gold you go up, the higher your income of gold that you receive rises. This effect can stack up to 5 times. You can also receive the same amount of gold you spent on a unit by refunding them. Before I get into units, I will warn you that it might take you a while to understand how these categories work. Each unit is split into 2 or more categories. When you combine 2 or more units with that same category, that category buff will take effect. For example, look at this wild buff here on the screen. Attacks generate stacks of fury which can stack up to 5 times. Each stack of fury gives 8% attack speed. If you have 2 wild on your team, you will grant this buff only for the wild units on your team. But if you have 4 wild on your team, all units on your team get this buff. At the moment, there are 23 different categories that are split in between origins and classes. What's the difference between origin and classes, you may be asking? Everybody under the noble origin is not going to be a knight like Garen. For example, Garen is a noble knight, but Fiora is a noble blade master. So if you combine these 2, the noble origin buff will be granted, but the knight and blade master classes still need other knight and blade masters to get their class buffs. These 2 buttons at the bottom left are very simple. The refresh button produces RNG units which you can buy, and the buy XP button allows you to spend gold leveling up to allow more units on the board. Now on to the items. Items are only found on creep waves and it's completely RNG. Some of the items are just a little confusing while others are just flat out overpowered. Then you have the golden spatulas. If 2 spatulas are combined, they will form a force of nature. And the force of nature allows for an extra unit without leveling up. I will leave a link to the item list down in the description along with the team builder link. You start by fighting 3 creep rounds. Then the order goes 3 PvP, then carousel, then 1 PvP, then 2 to 3 creep waves. What is carousel? Carousel is a round where players get to grab a unit from 10 spinning units and keep them. The players who lost the most health get to go first. And last but not least, the objective is to survive against other players to be the last man standing. With all this being said, I hope this guide really helped you out. And remember, if you haven't checked out www.digagami.com, I highly recommend you check out our site. Thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and I will catch you in the next video.